Okay, so differentiating inverse functions. Now, when we differentiate inverse functions, the process is actually a bit different, okay? So when you typically find an inverse function, you swap the pronumerals around, and then you solve for the y. Okay, so you swap them around, then you solve for the y. When we differentiate the inverse functions, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to rearrange the equation so that we swap the variables, okay? And this can make for a lot of easier functions, a lot of easier results. So remembering that the inverse of a function is when you multiply, or when you take the inverse of a function, it's going to take you back to 1. So suppose that y is a function of x and the inverse relation is also a function, making x a function of y. So that is, so y is equal to, x plus 2 is the same as y is equal to x minus 2, okay? So they go back and forth from each other. So let's say that's the case. Then what we can say is that dy dx times dx dy is equal to 1. Or in other words, dx dy is equal to 1 over dy dx. Okay. Now this is going to come in real handy when we solve some really tricky equations. So, well, let's have a look at. Jeez, I can't find the button. Oh God, I'm not having much luck. All right, so let's have a look at this one here. So I'm going to differentiate y is equal to the square root of x minus 2 by forming the inverse and differentiating it, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially solve for x. So we've got y is equal to the square root of x minus 2. Okay, so start off by squaring both sides. I'm going to get y squared is equal to x minus 2. And then add 2 to both sides, so we get y squared plus 2 is equal to x, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to differentiate with respect to x. So if x is equal to y squared plus 2, then dx dy, so that is differentiating the x with respect to y, okay, we're going to get 2y. Now we know that 2x dx dy is the same as dy dx over the derivative of y with respect to x. So that is dx dy is equal to 1 over dy dx. Okay, so we can actually work out what dy dx is by doing 1 over dx dy. Okay, so dy dx is equal to 1 over dx dy. Now we know though that dx dy is equal to 2y. So dy dx is equal to 1 over 2y. Now the problem is this says the derivative of y with respect to x. However, we've got some value that has a y in it. We've got 1 over 2y. So our last step to get our solution is to just resubstitute our y value in. And from the beginning, we know that y is equal to the square root of x minus 2. So all we need to do is wherever we see a y, is we substitute that back in. Okay? And that's it, done. So the derivative of the square root of x minus 2 is equal to 1 over 2 lots of the square root of x minus 2, okay? So with that being said, that is the final video for this topic. Okay, we're going to be moving on to, well, the subtopic. We're going to be moving on to differentiating powers with negative indices for the next